God, it's easy to hate Rian Johnson. He giggles like a fourth grader. The Last Jedi, his reaction to The Last Jedi, the smugness of his scripts where it feels like he's always trying to prove how much smarter he is than you. I have nothing against the guy. I like his movies, but God, does it feel like it's so easy to just dunk on him. But the man is the mastermind behind the best show of 2023 so far. Yeah, let's talk about Poker Face, an absolute joy of a TV show to watch, an ode to older shows like Columbo, where it's a mystery of the week type story, and every single week basically starts over. You hit the reset button and you're going back to square one with an all-new set of characters where Natasha Lyonne, who plays Charlie Cale, has to deduce who killed who, what were the motivations, and how to make them pay. Poker Face is a team effort more than anything else, but I'm going to start with Rian Johnson talking about him because ultimately he is the executive producer behind all this. He's responsible for some of the season's best episodes, and he gives an identity to the show that it wouldn't have had without his voice. Rian Johnson is a good writer, but his biggest weakness, he gets too fancy for his own good sometimes. Doesn't mean his movies are entirely bad, but they are made worse off by his own cleverness. When it comes to Glass Onion, perfectly good movie. However, the beginning is seriously hurt by every line of dialogue being so referential, so punchy and cheeky at every single turn, that the style of the movie, the style of the dialogue becomes oppressive and truly exhausting. In Last Jedi, I don't think it's one particular plot point that sinks the whole movie. It's the constant zigging and zagging you get at the end, where he's just constantly trying to pull the rug out from under you and trying to shift your expectations instead of just picking one point and sticking to it. Poker Face's structure nullifies these problems. You only are working with an hour here, so you can't get too cutesy with the dialogue. You have to introduce new characters, connect them to other characters who they want to kill, properly build up the motivation, then show the murder, then show how Charlie's connected to the murderers, and then go through the whole process of her eventually finding out how to punish them for their guilt. That is a lot of heavy lifting for the writers to do, and it prevents Johnson and other writers from getting too fancy and showing how well they can make their characters play verbal tennis matches with each other. And you can't have The Last Jedi problem either, because with just an hour, you can't have the story go in 7 different directions like in Looper or Last Jedi, or the whole story will unravel, which is why Poker Face mainly sticks to a 2 twist per episode type structure, where you have a subversion near the middle of the episode, where you see the murder at the beginning and there's some twist related to that, where not everything was really as it seemed at the beginning, and then you get the end of the episode, where you somehow get this twist, where Charlie somehow miraculously proves someone's guilt, makes them pay for what they did. And so Poker Face leaves just enough room for Johnson's wry comedy. You still get some punchy back and forths here and there. You still get his ability to manipulate you and surprise you with certain twists here and there, but none of it feels excessive, and absolutely no episode, no moment of any episode, feels like it has the elitism of some of his other projects. And what's truly bonkers about Poker Face is that it has more consistency, both in its visuals and dialogue, than shows that are written by one person, and it's written by like 7 different people. 6 of the episodes, Johnson is functioning as an executive producer. He's a guiding hand, sure, but he doesn't have his hands on this project like other people do. And yet, the show never wavers in its identity. The tone of the writing feels like it never fluctuates, not a single thing feels out of left field, and the same can go for the visuals, and I just gotta give an extra shout out to the visuals. I just love how bright it is all the time. It feels especially colorful and very evocative of summer, and it just has an overall unique look to it. The only constant the show has is Natasha Lyonne, but what a constant to have. She feels as though she has a natural synergy with this role. She was just born to do it. Her voice, her mannerisms, her stage presence, even outside of movies and TV shows. She just seems like she's constantly trying to work her way through conversation, just slowly deducing stuff, constantly maneuvering her way through words in such a specific way. And the way that Johnson and other writers wrote this for her perfectly complements her style. But I also don't want you to think, oh, this is just her phoning it in. She's just doing Russian Doll and playing those greatest hits again. This is a very specific character. She gets a lot more decisive with her movements as an actor here. And it's not even just going around and trying to outmaneuver the people she's trying to figure out, trying to make them lie in a certain way. The emotional moments work very well for her as well. The moment in episode 5 where she has this moment of realization that the 2 people that she thought were super cool, that were her friends, are actually the villains of the episode, the quote-unquote assholes the entire time. Such an excellent moment of acting where she's just processing this whole thing just with her face. She uses a very limited part of her acting skill set to make that moment special, and it's one of my favorite acting moments of the past few years. And what's crazy is that you can't even rely on Natasha Lyonne to carry the show because it's the guest stars that make or break the show. It's these people that come in and week out who only show up for 40 minutes at a time that really determine the quality of an episode, how good those opening 20 minutes are. And what's astounding to me is that not a single one of these episodes feels like it blows it in its first 20 minutes. Every single one of them feels like, bam, we got off to such a confident start because all these characters, I guess it makes sense because all the actors are super underappreciated character actors. So every time they step up to the plate, they're just ready to knock it out of the park. But from Cherry Jones to Tim Meadows to Adrian Brody, they're all so exquisite here, and I don't know how Poker Face is going to carry that on in subsequent seasons, where it feels like every single episode, wow, the supporting actors just feel like they really nail it every single time. It's going to be a tall task, but for season 1, I can't believe they did it, but they did. I am flabbergasted by Poker Face's quality. I mean, this was Johnson and a lot of company reaching back into this novel but relic of a format of TV's past, bringing it into the present day and yet emboldening it with all the polish of the prestige TV era and not missing a single beat along the way, making every episode so distinct, so enjoyable in its own right. And for it to just exist in the year 2023 is, I think, a huge achievement for all people involved.